I love Lilo and Stitch. It's a cute, heartfelt story revolving around two little oddballs, a human girl in a broken home, and the other an alien experiment who never really had one. But when brought together, they're able to heal and become better people. Its characters are complex and relatable, its animation is gorgeous and breathtaking, and its story is emotional and empowering, especially considering its representation in being a person of color, neurodivergent, and queer. Overall, the movie encourages people not to give up on others and themselves, and it's what a lot of people, including myself, definitely need to hear. And for these reasons, it's one of my favorite films of all time. The 2002 version, I mean, not the 2025 version. And I'm gonna let you know why. Now, I'm gonna be real here. I haven't actually watched the movie myself, because I don't like to be tortured. However, I have watched multiple reviews and multiple clips from the movie, all discussing the same changes, and I'm gonna go over why all of them are terrible, and how they make the movie worse than the original, in order from the one least to most aggravating. Starting with our first bit of Saturday news, Daddy Gonto is gone. But to be honest, I didn't really mind. Like, I was disappointed, of course, considering he's literally the main antagonist, and I would have loved to see him in live action. I mean, that'd look insane. But at the same time, I was fully aware of, one, the budget it took to make the movie, and two, the fact changes to be expected with these remakes, and it didn't have to be a bad thing. Maybe with Gonto out of the picture and no main villain, it allowed for the movie to focus more on the coming together of this found family, potentially making it something more similar to Encanto when there's no real villain, and instead the conflict comes from all these people learning to coexist with each other, thinking for an even more heartfelt ending. But this is not what happened. Nani is a severely underrated character in my opinion. She's very realistic in how she handles herself and Lilo and how stressed out she gets. She's not constantly keeping a smile on her face like nothing's wrong, can get upset at Lilo a lot, but she never outright gets mad or blames her for any certain problems of hers either. She clearly loves her sister very much and would never want her to be sent to the feds because ultimately, she knows she's the only one who understands her. She's also very talented in her surfing and problem-solving abilities, and she can even have her quirky, funny moments, and overall I really appreciate her as a character. In the remake, however, she mainly maintains these traits, but there are three main changes which I really didn't like. One, her personality, as well as Lilo's, is very toned down, making her a much more boring character, and she acts more like a typical older sister character in most movies. Two, she has an interest in marine biology now, which would be fine. It could give her more depth and personality. But the weird thing is, this apparent new interest of hers is something she hardly even talks about, and when it is brought up, it contributes to her final problem being three. It gives off the feeling she doesn't care to be with Lilo as much as she doesn't go out with her like she did in certain scenes, like for Stitch's adoption, where she instead went into the adoption center alongside a new character, David's grandmother. Remember her, she will be brought up again. Who takes away Nani's role as her caretaker a lot of the time. Speaking of characters whose roles are taken away by another. Hey, so remember the most badass character in the movie, the Cobra Bubbles? How he was the coolest dude ever but with the warmest heart, looking like this? Throughout the movie, he serves as a simple role in the story, but it's still an important one. Time and time again, he observed Lilo and Nani's house and delivered Nani harsh truths about taking care of Lilo and her getting taken away because of their dysfunctional lifestyle. But he never meant any harm in his statements, and at one point, he actually instructs Nani on how she can redeem herself, and in the end of the movie, he no longer felt he had to interrogate them and even seemed to become part of the family in the way. So anyway, now he's some loser agent guy who only claims to be a social worker to get closer to Stitch and capture him. Even though that's basically what Jumbo and Bleakley are already doing, but okay. And now, you might be wondering, who exactly is the real social worker? Well, it's this really nice lady who ensures Nani, Lilo being taken away isn't really a big deal, and it'll allow her to be free and pursue her passion. Do you see the problem here? By raising Bubbles of his already existing role, it lessens the stakes, and with the role given to this other person, it muddles the message of the original movie, which is about Ohana and how a family doesn't get left behind. It makes it seem like leaving family behind actually is a fine thing to do. All this change does is create nothing but pointless filler, and even in the context of this new narrative, his character goes basically nowhere, because as I pointed out, his job is basically already being done by Jumba and Bleakley. Speaking of which, let's address the elephant in the room finally. Probably the most discussed and most prevalent change in the movie. What the fuck did they do to Jumbo, man? First of all, his voice is completely different now. Not only is his iconic Russian accent gone, his tone of voice too isn't the same either. In the original, his voice was low and gruffy, giving off the vibe he actually had experience in what he was doing and how he came to be so cold and calculating. But here, his voice is way younger, to the point his voice is even higher pitched than Blinky's. What the f- And it's incredibly annoying and unthreatening, which is ironic because Jumbo... Sorry, did I say Jumbo? My bad. That's not Jumbo, that's Jonathan. It's the main freaking villain! See, I didn't only call him Jonathan because he's a whitewashed version of a character already voiced by a white man, but because they're straight up different in nearly every way. In the original movie, he wasn't an angel obviously, but he definitely had some kind of moral compass. Before he's sent to capture Stitch, he originally doesn't even care that he's a little scamp, and seemed very proud of him in fact, until the Grand Councilwoman told him his capture would allow for his release. Even still, when he does start to try and capture him, he still shows he cares about Stitch in his own weird way, as he takes notes of his progress as an individual, and asks himself questions like how Stitch must have felt adapting to his new environment. To add on, he never said he wanted to kill Stitch, and rather he wanted to change him. Which is still bad, of course, but, you know, you get what you could get. And he also never says he intended to use him for malicious purposes, like to hurt people, and he actually sent him out for trying to use Lilo as a shield, and never even put her in any danger, even after he's fired alongside Bleakley. We can especially see his true colors shine towards the end, where he finally redeems himself and he listens in on Stitch and Nani's heart-to-heart about Ohana and family. And when Stitch asks for his help to get Lilo back, he very quickly obliges, and we see him visibly happier doing so as he helps his son get Lilo back from Gonto. But fuck that! Now in the remake, he's nothing but a bland bad guy and plays with the clearly superior Captain Gonto, who only thinks about himself and his goals to get Stitch and make him into a violent monster and kill the Grand Councilwoman for some reason. He has no care about harming Lilo and purposefully wrecks her home, and even has a grand villain speech about over-attachment to people and family. Like, why did they not use this to redeem him again? Like, he has a very visible attachment to Stitch, who's, again, basically his son. So much so, even when he captured Stitch, he makes a joke about how he's his real Ohana. They could have easily taken this line in the new movie and used it in the end to show Jonathan, the error of his ways of thinking and show the importance of having a support group and how hurt people don't have to hurt people. There's even another scene where he tells Lilo and Stitch, parentheses 2025 to parentheses, how he had a bad Ohana and people are capable of changing. And though he does say it before the two kick him off his ship, so of course he's probably bullshitting. But like, what if he wasn't? What if he wasn't lying, and he really does have family issues, and that's why he wants Stitch back so bad, except his only problem is he's too hurt as a person to see the true beauty of their relationship of father and son. And that's why he goes out of his way to destroy Lilo and Nani's house out of jealousy, and oh my god, we were right there, man! Toward the beginning of the movie, we even see this cute scene of Bleakley getting assigned to work with Jumbo, and he gets so excited to work with him and go to Earth that he hugs the man. And I've seen a few cute funny clips of them working together and they seem fine. But even still, it isn't enough to convince Jumbo to be good, and Bleakley is redeemed while Jumbo isn't. And it's just so wrong. Why would you separate these iconic duo? Why couldn't they have played off this scene and show his character develop through another scene toward the end where he hugs Bleakley? Or kiss Bleakley? Why did you take away my gay aliens, Disney? What the fuck? Oh my god. Speaking of gay aliens, when I found out Bleakley wouldn't be slaying in their iconic drag outfits, my disappointment was immeasurable and my day was ruined, of course, but at the same time, I wasn't really all that surprised either, so that's why I didn't bother making a section about it. Disney really values its representation, guys. We should award them for it by, like, giving them money. So, remember in the beginning how I said Stitch never really had a home? The reason is actually because as Jumbo, or Jonathan, would introduce Stitch to the Grand Council, he presented himself as a little menace to society until he was sent to be arrested, even though instead he managed to escape in a pod, and he crash landed on Earth as a result of his reckless driving. Because of him leaving his home at such a young age and being raised by Jumbo of all people not helping, he doesn't really know any manners or customs, and even when he meets Lilo, he doesn't immediately change his ways straight away. Because of his constant aggression and Lilo and Nani getting visibly upset at him and getting in trouble because of him, he decides to leave, even though they never told him to, and they all still love each other clearly. Heck, at one point Stitch tries to explain his behavior through a book he finds, The Ugly Duckling, to show how he acts now because of the Ugly Duckling. At one point, he's lost and has no one to care for him, and Lilo quickly picks up on this and tries to be understanding of him, as she can act the same at times. But Stitch understands too, he causes the family a lot of extra trouble, as he sees the interactions they have with others like Bubbles and the general public. And so he makes his decision and winds up in the woods, and at one point he realizes, like the Ugly Duckling, he's lost. He could try and find a new family, go somewhere else, but what's the point? He could never belong. But apparently in the new movie he can, because now, not only does he never talk about the book with Lilo, but he decides to leave on his own. He goes all the way to the fucking pet store, like it's no big deal. I can find another home. Oh my god, this is so dumb. In the original, he leaves their home despite knowing he will probably never find another family as accepting as them again. But here, it gives off the vibe he doesn't even give a crap. Like, oh well, they don't need me, it's okay, I'll be fine. I never really cared about them much anyway. Out of all the changes I talked about here, I honestly can't believe this one at all, and it sucks especially because of how it shows how much he loves Lilo, and it was so emotionally powerful. And yet, there's still one more change which pissed me off even more. Before I get pissed the hell off, let me tell you all a little something about Lilo. Lilo is a unique little girl in that she is very different from her peers. She takes photos of people, she does various rituals, she plays with toys different than those the other hula girls have, and yeah, you get the point. Her behavior isn't always good either. She gets overwhelmed very easily and even anxious if certain things don't go as she planned, and sometimes she can even get a little silly and react violently to Myrtle in particular for bullying and intimidating her. With that said, she's still a good girl at heart and talks about how sorry she feels at one point for getting the way she did with her specifically, and promises to Nani and her hula instructor she'll do better. At the end of the day, she just hates being treated differently, and we can see the fact she is makes her depressed, and she especially gets this way when she thinks about her parents. For these reasons, as much as she can stress her out, Nani is very protective of her, and insists she doesn't be taken by the state, and by the end, they succeed. As Lilo learns to better herself through bettering Stitch, and their family grows because the sisters now have him, Jumba, and Pleakley, showing how love will preserve in the end over all else. Now, my dear friends, with all of this in mind, why on God's green earth would whoever wrote this remake allow Lilo to get adopted? Oh, well, Nani wants to go to college, you know, and to be fair, it's not like she was adopted by a stranger. She was adopted by David's grandma. I don't care. If this were a real Lilo and Stitch movie, Nani wouldn't go to an out-of-state college, as if Hawaii isn't known for its fucking oceans and marine life. If this were a real Lilo and Stitch movie, they would have realized, hey, Jumba and Pleakley are part of the family now, and they could take care of Lilo while Nani's at college, while still keeping Lilo under her and their roof. If this were a real Lilo and Stitch movie, this ending would not have been so terrible at best, or harmful at its worst. And also, Nani literally has a crush on David, and David has a crush on her too, so is that not weird? What the movie is trying to get at here basically with this story change is to let go of someone no matter how much it hurts, and on paper, the message isn't bad, but it's not the message of Lilo and Stitch, and it never should be. It's not a message that should be applied to an already oppressed Hawaiian family. The whole appeal of the original movie was seeing these sisters succeed in finally making things work in their home situation despite all odds against them. And to make it seem like the original movie was unrealistic for this is not only incredibly wrong, but incredibly harmful too. Remember kids, whenever something isn't working out right away, don't bother trying to make it work anymore. Just give up. Ohana means family, and family doesn't get left behind unless you want to go to college, and specifically one out of state without considering other alternatives like online learning, or having the other adult in the house help. Fuck this film, man. I could say, without a doubt in my mind, this is the worst remake out of all the remakes because, hey, at least they keep their character roles the same. At least they keep their main message the same. At least they keep their fucking ending the same. And no, before anyone could say it, I don't care the movie may have a sequel plan. Because guess what? The original didn't need that. The original didn't need fixing. You do not need to fix something that isn't broken, and this remake has proven it 100% true. If you like this movie, good for you. This video isn't an attack on you. This video is an attack on the movie. And as a matter of fact, I'm not gonna end the video on a negative note. I don't want to talk about this piece of shit anymore. So instead, I would recommend you all, whether you watched it or not, to go see the original. The unbroken, unfixable original. Feel free to talk more with me in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. And yeah,